Within the vast arena of history, the spotlight often rests upon the most familiar empires: Rome, Egypt, China. Their narratives stand deeply etched into the fabric of time. Yet in the periphery lie empires one rarely hears about, realms whispering tales of great power and subsequent vanishing. One might picture these as civilizations emerging like unexpected springs in arid zones, flourishing among titans, only to fade into the silence found in forgotten archives. From the nomadic Khazars who adopted Judaism on the steppes, to the Axumites who carved churches directly into African rock, these are more than mere historical footnotes. They stand as powerful testaments to man's ambition, his resilience, and history's ultimate embrace of the obscure. Let us journey across those windswept plains where the sounds of ancient hooves once resounded, to investigate the enigmatic rise and fall of the Khazar Empire, that mysterious Jewish kingdom situated on the immense Eurasian steppe. This formidable confederation originated from semi-nomadic Turkic tribesmen who established a significant presence around the 7th century. Located strategically between the Byzantine realm's grandeur and the expanding influence of the Islamic Caliphate, the Khazars carved out their own dominion by mastering both trade and diplomacy. As they gained control over the flow of goods along the Silk Road, the Khazars were recognized not as simple nomads, but as crucial gatekeepers whose authority extended from the northern Caucasus Mountains down to the fertile territories surrounding the Caspian Sea. Their ascent was sophisticated and strategic, allowing them to remain autonomous amidst their powerful neighbors through sheer political skill and military might. Governed with impressive adaptability, they forged a diverse yet cohesive empire that seemed resistant to the fate of larger, more cumbersome states. The Khazars integrated innovations, incorporated various cultures, and perhaps most remarkably, converted en masse to Judaism in the 8th century. This perplexing choice has held historians in thrall for centuries. Was this conversion a brilliant diplomatic move, striking a balance that kept both Christian and Muslim expansionist aims in check while maintaining their own sovereignty? Their conversion appears to have been more than just a religious maneuver. It was a bold assertion of their unique identity, a clear marker of their independence within a religiously divided world. Adopting aspects of Jewish law and utilizing Hebrew as a language for governance, the Khazars crafted a lifestyle uniquely their own. Jewish scholars journeyed to their cities, blending theology with statecraft in ways rarely seen, fostering a complex tapestry of coexistence where Islam, Christianity, and local beliefs mingled under a Jewish ruling elite. Within this eclectic empire, cultural diversity was not just permitted, it truly thrived. The Khazars drew in a mosaic of peoples, creating an environment where persecuted groups found safety and where coexistence was more common than exception. Art, literature, and music flourished amidst this convergence of cultures, driven by the vibrant exchanges that took place in their cities. Bustling hubs echoing with the sounds of lively trade routes connecting east and west. In this dynamic environment, the Khazars' embrace of diversity proved their strength, cultivating a society marked by mutual respect and rich intellectual exchange. Yet no empire survives solely on ideals. The Khazars also excelled economically and militarily. These were vital components of their sustained success. Their control over crucial trade routes made them a linchpin of the Silk Road economy. Here, silk and spices flowed reliably, and with them, ideas and technologies were exchanged. This bustling commerce was symbolized by the distinct clinking sound of minted coins bearing symbols such as the Star of David. These coins served both as evidence of their financial acumen and as a proud declaration of cultural identity. Fueled by an economy as sophisticated as it was robust, their military strategies mirrored their diplomatic agility. Khazar warriors, true masters of swift and decisive cavalry tactics, patrolled their vast domains with precision. The open steppes enhanced their mobility, enabling rapid, coordinated responses to threats. Their cavalry was legendary, and their military alliances, particularly with Byzantium, demonstrate a strategic depth that balanced force with diplomacy. Despite their prosperity, the Khazars faced growing tides of external and internal pressures that would ultimately signal their decline. The Rus, emerging from the north with Viking-like intensity, targeted Khazar wealth and influence, while internal conflicts began to erode their unity. Succession disputes simmered, coupled with religious shifts and economic tensions, as external threats conspired to weaken Khazar resolve. The relentless sweep of history spares no one. As both Byzantine aspirations and Rus' strength increased, the Khazar dominion began to unravel. By the 10th century, the Khazar Empire's end was drawing near. Critical defeats inflicted by the Rus dismantled their power. Their firm grip over trade routes loosened. Their cities grew quiet, their once bustling marketplaces abandoned. Lacking monumental ruins to narrate their story, the Khazars faded into history much like footprints disappearing from sand. Their empire became a spectral presence, echoing the transient nature of power. Whether through assimilation, diaspora, or simply blending into surrounding cultures, their ultimate fate remains largely unknown. Despite their vanishing, the Khazars left behind resonant echoes across time. Their history offers us intriguing lessons in multicultural integration and resilience. It serves as a compelling reminder that history often reveals its most profound tales from the shadows of forgotten narratives. Scholars have pondered their existence since the 19th century, assembling a picture from fragmented ancient texts and scattered artifacts. Their story, part history and part legend, speaks to something deeply human: the inherent impermanence of empires, the ceaseless advance of time. The legacy of the Khazars is rich with intrigue, a captivating account of strategy, adaptability, and ultimately, the quiet conclusion of a once mighty power. It stands as a stark lesson in history's grand archive, illustrating that even formidable empires can vanish with hardly a trace, yet still leave faint whispers of their former greatness. Their narrative endures as a haunting reminder of the past's connection to the present, as tangible and captivating as any tale spun by the light of long-vanished stars. In the highlands of what is now Ethiopia, the Axumite Empire unfurled its banner, standing as an African titan of commerce and belief. Situated at the convergence of ancient trade paths, Axum served as a true melting pot, where Roman coins clinked against Indian jewels and spices filled the air, a sensory marketplace that shone with ivory and gold. Greek and Roman chroniclers penned accounts of this remarkable empire, describing ships laden with treasures sailing the shimmering Red Sea, forging a legacy that reached far beyond its borders. The city's lively markets echoed with the chatter of merchants and the rustling of exotic goods, creating an opulent scene that rivaled the great civilizations of its era. But prosperity was measured by more than just wealth. Axum became a mosaic of cultures where impressive architectural feats rose from the earth, casting long shadows across the land. Towering stone stelae marked the burial places of kings, their surfaces etched with accounts of glory and conquest. These massive monoliths, some reaching toward the sky, were more than simple markers. They were storytellers, recounting the history of a civilization that communicated through the ancient gaze script, a language still used in Ethiopian religious services today. Axum's spirit pulsed with innovation and artistic energy, drawing in ideas from beyond the horizon carried by distant travelers. Then came a monumental transformation as the empire took a decisive step by embracing Christianity in the 4th century, adopting this faith even before much of Europe had considered it. This change was spearheaded by King Azana's conversion, influenced by Frumentius, a Syro-Christian captive whose impact reshaped the kingdom's spiritual landscape. Having been baptized into the new faith, Azana promoted the Christian ethos, commissioning churches and spreading the doctrine throughout his realm. This swift adoption of Christianity did not erase old practices, but wove them into a richer, more complex fabric. Ancient customs blended with Christian symbols, igniting a spiritual fusion that proved enduring. This combination of beliefs enhanced the ruler's legitimacy, imbuing them with a divine right that unified the kingdom and strengthened its foundations. Following the rise of Christianity, Axum's essence became embedded in stone. In the shadow of its eventual decline, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela stood as echoes of its lasting legacy. Carved during the 12th century, these monolithic structures paid homage to Axumite traditions, shaped by the hands of skilled craftsmen under the vision of King Lalibela. Designed as a New Jerusalem, each of these 11 sanctuaries incorporated biblical symbolism, breathing an eternal spirit into the rock from which they were carved. Pilgrims from numerous lands journeyed to this sacred site, where devotion intertwined with the grandeur of nature, and the very walls recounted stories of faith and resilience. The empire's economic strength was also evident in its coinage, a system predating modern finance that asserted Axum's standing internationally. Gold and silver coins bore the likenesses of kings alongside the Christian cross, merging sovereignty with spirituality. These coins circulated widely, becoming trusted currency across continents, reinforcing Axum's influence from the Roman frontier to the bustling markets of India. Economic wisdom was a hallmark of Axum, where the sounds of commerce resonated in ports like Adulis, increasing its wealth and solidifying its position as a commercial powerhouse. Yet Axum's history was not without conflict. Diplomacy was its forte, enabling the formation of alliances while navigating the ever-shifting sands of geopolitics. Records from Greek and Armenian chroniclers describe Axum's skillful dealings with empires such as Persia and India. Diplomatic exchanges often involve marriage pacts and economic treaties rather than military confrontation. However, Axum was certainly capable of warfare, utilizing its naval power to control the Red Sea and secure its trade routes. This balance of diplomacy and military capability sustained its dominance, a delicate strategy that played the game of power with both finesse and cunning. As twilight began to settle upon the empire, Axum faced a confluence of challenges. The 7th and 8th centuries brought external and internal pressures that gnawed at its core. Climate fluctuations, causing droughts that withered the land, eroded its agricultural base, leading to a dangerous decline in sustenance. As trade routes shifted due to the rise of Islam, Axum's treasury diminished, weakening its hold on authority. A changing geopolitical landscape and internal disagreements further fragmented the empire's unity. As military threats and societal tensions signaled the impending end, even in collapse, Axum's secrets remained, waiting to be uncovered beneath layers of history. Archaeological efforts unearthed artifacts that shed light on its complex society. From clay vessels hinting at daily life to coins attesting to its wealth, royal tombs revealed narratives of spiritual depth, adorned with carvings that recalled a bygone grandeur. Each discovery contributed to a fuller picture of a society rich in thought and culture. Its remnants stand as a testament to an ancient sophistication. Today, Axum lives on as a fundamental element of Ethiopian identity. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, deeply rooted in Axumite Christianity, provides a spiritual connection to an illustrious past. Festivals and symbols like the distinctive Ethiopian cross honor Axum's lasting impact. As Ethiopia moves forward, Axum's history fuels resilience, serving as a beacon of innovation and cultural vitality. In educational settings and religious ceremonies, the empire's legacy remains vibrant, inviting reflection on a period of human history where stone and spirit converge to shape an enduring narrative. Imagine, if you will, a tale long carried by the winds across the Anatolian plains, a story buried deep beneath layers of earth, obscured by time, until it was discovered like a map leading to a forgotten past. In the late 19th century, European scholars unexpectedly found the remains of the Hittite Empire, which had previously lingered solely within the realm of historical myths. Initially dismissed merely as folklore, these ancient rulers emerged from obscurity when archaeologists uncovered the ruins of Hattusa, the Hittite capital. Consider the excitement felt when thousands of clay tablets came to light, each etched in cuneiform script, revealing the intricate workings of a civilization long silenced by the passage of time. These tablets documented diplomacy, trade, and warfare, capturing the sophistication of an empire whose influence once echoed throughout history. In an age dominated by bronze, the Hittites achieved a feat of ancient craftsmanship, the mastery of iron. This metal, being harder and more durable, revolutionized the art of warfare. It was a closely guarded secret, viewed by some as a gift from the gods themselves. With iron, the Hittites forged weapons that set them apart, enabling them to stand as a formidable power among neighbors who still relied on bronze. Their skill in ironwork served as both a metaphor and a practical reality, demonstrating the resilience that characterized their empire. As they perfected their craft, they not only secured their own empire, but also laid the groundwork for the Iron Age, a period that would transform civilizations long after the Hittites themselves had vanished. Central to their military dominance was the chariot, a symbol of Hittite ingenuity that fundamentally changed warfare. Light, fast, and remarkably effective, their two-wheeled chariots were prime examples of combined engineering skill and strategic thinking. Training transformed these vehicles into instruments that inspired both fear and awe. On the battlefield, they were like storms on wheels, seemingly blessed by divine favor. The Battle of Kadesh stands as a testament to their capabilities, a massive confrontation with the Egyptians that still generates debate among historians about its precise outcome. Nevertheless, its sheer scale highlights the tactical innovation the Hittites brought to the ancient military landscape. It was a craft based not only on iron, but on imaginative strategy. In the Hittite world, the divine and the political were intricately linked, as inseparable as shadow and light. Treaties were not simple agreements. They were solemn vows witnessed by the entire pantheon of gods. The great king, embodying the roles of both ruler and high priest, connected the earthly realm with the spiritual through acts of diplomacy. Take, for example, the Treaty of Kadesh, drafted after the famous battle. Inscribed on silver tablets, it ranks among the earliest known international agreements, explicitly invoking divine forces to ensure its terms were upheld. This blend of religious reverence and statecraft bound the Hittites to powers both celestial and earthly, creating a world sustained by faith just as much as by soldiers. Against this backdrop of power and spirituality, the city of Hadassah served as a symbol of the Hittite heartland. Its massive fortifications loomed against the horizon, a clear testament to their need for security and their significant architectural skill. Within these stone walls lay their archives filled with secrets and stories, the vital pulse of a society flourishing amidst challenging circumstances. As one walks among its ruins today, he might still sense the presence of its past inhabitants, as if their spirits linger among the lion gates and palaces, bridging the vast gap of time with history still waiting to be fully understood. Hittite mythology formed a complex tapestry of gods and heroes woven through the fabric of their daily lives. Imagine narratives describing Tarhunt, the storm god, wielding the forces of nature, and Hebat, the nurturing earth mother, whose benevolent influence was felt in the fertility of the fields. Their myths, meticulously carved into clay tablets, spoke of cosmic conflicts and divine intrigues, depicting a universe in constant flux, mirroring the turbulence of their own existence. Rituals, festivals, and sacrifices were integral rhythms of daily life, intended to secure divine favor in times of peace and war alike. Yet, like all empires, the Hittites were not immune to the relentless passage of time and the onset of calamity. Their demise was not a sudden crash, but a fading away, muffled by a series of misfortunes, droughts, invasions by the enigmatic sea peoples, and internal strife unraveling their cohesion. As Hattusa gradually collapsed, the Hittite flame extinguished, leaving behind a void filled only with fragmented myths and the records of foreign powers. The silence that followed erased them from contemporary awareness. Yet their influence endured subtly, impacting the civilizations that arose after them. The rediscovery of the Hittites breathed life back into this lost empire, thanks to the persistent efforts of scholars piecing together the past from scattered remains. Breakthroughs at Boğazköy, revealing the rich archive of Hittite life, reignited interest in their accomplishments and their influence by illuminating their history. The Hittites filled a significant gap in our understanding of cultural connections in the ancient world. Their story stands as a testament to man's enduring drive for innovation, faith, and empire building. Today, the Hittite Empire offers valuable lessons on the precarious nature of power, on innovation as a force with both positive and negative consequences, and on adaptability as a fundamental requirement for survival. Though lost to memory for centuries, their influence subtly permeates our culture, re-emerging in narratives and media, sparking a renewed curiosity about their world. Their tale reminds us of the transient nature of empires and the lasting legacy of legends reborn, allowing the voice of a society that once echoed with the clatter of chariots and the whispers of the gods to be heard again. Once, amidst the chaos of the Fourth Crusade, a story of unexpected conquest unfolded in 1204. A military expedition originally intended to reclaim Jerusalem took a stunning deviation as crusaders, entangled by debts and political maneuvering, turned their attention toward Constantinople. They stormed the magnificent city, a blend of ancient relics and golden splendor. But this was not a force facing Islam. Rather, it was Christians taking from other Christians. This action blurred traditional alliances and sowed distrust throughout Christendom, a paradox that fundamentally altered the global order. Walls that had stood for centuries witnessing Byzantine glory now echoed with betrayal, and sacred religious treasures became mere spoils for disillusioned warriors. From the catastrophic fall of Constantinople emerged the Latin Empire, a fledgling realm constructed upon this grand ruin. Imagine the opulent Byzantine palaces seized by Latin lords, where foreign languages now filled the halls that had once resonated with Eastern chants. It was a fragmented state, an awkward mix of cultures, never truly capable of filling the immense void left by Byzantium. Burdened by suspicion and never truly accepted by its Orthodox subjects, the Latin Empire struggled with its very identity from its inception. It swayed precariously like a top-heavy tower, challenged internally by ambitious men who understood conquest but lacked the skill for effective governance. Cultural conflicts between the Latin rulers and the Byzantine Greeks proved insurmountable obstacles. The Western traditions introduced by the newcomers disrupted the deeply ingrained Byzantine systems. Latin cavalry rode through streets once vibrant with Byzantine customs, while the Byzantine Greeks resented what felt like unwelcome intruders in their own city. Ignoring these deep cultural ties, the Latin lords attempted to impose their way of life, alienating the very people they sought to govern. This was more than just a change in leadership. It was an affront to an entire way of life, fueling a silent conflict of identity rather than open warfare. Beyond the city walls, the Latin Empire faced external threats from every direction. Bulgarians, the Nicaean Empire, and Byzantine exiles all watched, eager to reclaim lands lost to the ambitious but faltering Latin rulers. The empire's defensive strategies were weak, its alliances fragile, surrounded by adversaries who held both deep grudges and territorial claims. Battles like Adrianople in 1205 served as brutal reminders of the empire's vulnerability, with its forces often routed by more cohesive enemies. Despite its formidable walls, Constantinople offered little real security against determined leaders, driven by a thirst for revenge and a desire for restoration. Within its borders, the empire battled corruption and incompetence. Ambitions ran unchecked among nobles who viewed personal enrichment as a greater priority than the prosperity of the empire. Like decay within timber, corruption gnawed at the empire's core. Part-time soldiers and unreliable mercenaries bolstered the ranks, leaving the populace vulnerable. Allegiances were bought and sold, reducing governance to a mere shadow of what it should have been. The Latin Empire became a cautionary tale, a case study in how power and ambition, unsupported by unity, lead to rapid decline. Meanwhile, the Empire of Nicaea grew stronger from the ashes of Byzantium, a beacon of resilience and determination, forged by survivors and men of vision. Nicaea set its sights firmly on Constantinople, the prize it longed to reclaim. Nicaean rulers, methodical and strategic, launched campaigns that steadily chipped away at Latin holdings. Military victories were complemented by shrewd diplomacy, slowly isolating the Latin rulers as Nicaea expanded its influence and restored its legacy. Every triumph re-established faith in recovered territory, paving the way back to sovereignty and a cultural renaissance. By 1261, the ambitions of the Latin Empire finally succumbed to the Byzantine resurgence. Seizing an opportunity presented by complacent Latin defenses, Byzantine forces led by Michael VIII Palaiologos struck with precision. The mighty city, its once impenetrable walls now vulnerable, witnessed Latin flags lowered and Byzantine banners raised once again. For Michael, reclaiming Constantinople was more than a strategic objective. It was a symbolic return to its origins, imbued with poetic justice and historical significance. The city returned to Byzantine hands, a homecoming that reinforced continuity amidst turmoil. The Latin Empire, brief in its existence yet significant in its impact, dissolved like sandcastles before the tide. However, it remained ingrained within history's fabric, a testament to the uncontrolled reach of ambition. While it failed to achieve lasting glory, the lessons derived from its experience endured, highlighting the complex interplay between power and culture amidst shifting circumstances. Its echoes resonated through Byzantine corridors, recounting its meteoric rise and inevitable fall. A chapter where conquest gained little lasting permanence. In the aftermath, cultural exchanges enriched both Eastern and Western practices. Despite the initial imposition, Latin customs influenced Orthodox rituals, and Byzantine art subtly permeated Western artistic representations. Artifacts and mementos discovered speak not merely of conquest, but of layered histories where military action met artistic influence, creating lasting legacies. Thus, the Latin Empire, though a fleeting entity, left nuanced traces in the broader tapestry of history, subtle and complex, much like the empires that both rose and fell alongside it. Following Constantinople's capture by the Fourth Crusaders in 1204, the fractured landscape of the Byzantine world saw the birth of a new entity on the Black Sea coast, the Empire of Trebizond. Founded by Alexios Komnenos, a member of the exiled Byzantine imperial family, this smaller yet determined empire emerged within the mountainous embrace of an ancient trade center. The city of Trebizond, once a bustling commercial hub, became the empire's lifeline, capitalizing on its fertile hinterlands and strategic location to control key trade routes connecting Europe and Asia. Despite its relative isolation, Trebizond cultivated an aura of mystery and resilience, weaving into its identity echoes of the once mighty Byzantine tradition, blended with the diverse local customs of the region. Trebizond soon blossomed into a sanctuary for culture and learning. Its rulers championed the arts and scholarship, fostering a cultural environment as intricate as their renowned mosaics. The empire's position along the Silk Road transformed it into a vibrant cultural melting pot, where Byzantine art and literature flourished alongside Persian, Armenian, and Georgian influences. The capital's frescoes and mosaics reflected the splendor of Constantinople, while caravans brought not only silk and spices, but also ideas and philosophies. This fusion of cultures and traditions under the Komnenos dynasty created a vibrant, albeit complex, social fabric. It was a place where Persian poets found common ground with Byzantine scholars, and Armenian traders struck deals with Georgian merchants. Survival in Trebizond demanded adept political maneuvering. Sandwiched as it was between the rising Seljuks, a resurgent Byzantium, and the expanding Mongols, the emperors of Trebizond refined diplomacy into a high art. They expertly played stronger powers against one another to sustain their own empire. They forged alliances with the precision of a stonemason fitting stones, acknowledging the necessity of yielding when required, but fiercely defending their sovereignty. The mountainous terrain provided a natural fortress, a defensive advantage that allowed them to secure their borders and resources. This strategic focus extended to the Black Sea trade. Here, the empire prospered financially by imposing tolls and fostering a profitable exchange of silk and spices amidst the political turbulence of the era. Trebizond's economic success was intrinsically linked to its status as a significant player on the Silk Road. The bustling port of Trebizond facilitated an extensive trade network, filling its harbors with silks, spices, and metals, supporting its financial structure with a steady influx of tariffs and taxes. The fertile lands beyond its coastal mountains further bolstered its prosperity, dotted with olive groves and vineyards that sustained both its people and its treasury. This financial stability enabled Trebizond's citizens to enjoy a comparatively high standard of living relative to those in other Byzantine remnants. Merchants and craftsmen were drawn to the city, enriching its cultural and intellectual landscape and highlighting Trebizond's importance on the periphery of larger empires. Despite the empire's prosperity, the lives of the common man and the aristocracy were distinct, yet remained bound together by the generosity of the land and the fundamental demands of survival. Peasants labored in the fertile valleys, their routines dictated by the rhythms of agricultural cycles, punctuated by community celebrations and spiritual gatherings. Despite their difficult work, they found solace in the empire's religious and cultural life. Meanwhile, the aristocracy inhabited a world of privilege, navigating complex political dynamics while engaging in the arts and intellectual pursuits. The noble estates served as symbols of wealth, yet these landowners understood their fortunes were tied to Trebizond's precarious balance of power, depending on the labor of those who worked the fields. Religion played a crucial role in shaping Trebizond's identity, casting it as a spiritual stronghold surrounded by adversaries. The Orthodox Christian faith unified its populace and lent legitimacy to the rule of the Komnenos dynasty. Monasteries and churches dotted the landscape, serving as centers of both learning and faith. Their illuminated manuscripts and rich artwork displayed a synthesis of Byzantine, Armenian, and Georgian traditions. The Sumala Monastery, perched dramatically on a clifftop, stood as a powerful testament to this spiritual and architectural capability, a true beacon in the rugged terrain. Religious ceremonies and festivals, with their impressive processions and revered relics, strengthened community ties and ensured spiritual continuity. However, Trebizond's existence was constantly menaced by external enemies and internal conflicts. The Mongols, casting a vast shadow from the east, represented a significant threat. Their fluctuating favor, a delicate balance the Trebizond emperors had to carefully manage. To the south, the Seljuk Turks remained a persistent danger. Additionally, internal power struggles among noble families tested the empire's stability, leading to occasional civil strife that diverted attention from external threats. Despite these challenges, Trebizond's emperors mastered the art of survival, expertly playing the complex game of diplomacy, military readiness, and strategic tribute. In the 15th century, the Empire of Trebizond faced its most significant challenge when the Ottomans, under Sultan Mehmed II, turned their sights upon it. The ensuing conquest in 1461 saw the empire's defenses collapse under the weight of Ottoman military might, bringing an end to this final Byzantine enclave. Yet even in defeat, Trebizond's legacy persisted. Its architectural marvels, scholarly contributions, and cultural narratives endured, leaving a lasting imprint on history. The rocky landscape still seems to whisper stories of this past era, its echoes serving as a haunting reminder of Trebizond's flame that burned brightly, though for a limited time, against the relentless tides of history and larger empires. In the heart of the Indonesian archipelago lay the Majapahit Empire, a monumental power largely overlooked in much of today's global historical accounts, yet rich with stories of splendor and influence. Imagine Java not as a mere island, but as the vibrant core of a naval empire during the 14th century, its reach extending through a network of 98 tributaries across maritime Southeast Asia. Spices were its lifeblood. Cloves and nutmeg scents mingled in the salty air of its busy ports where the languages of trade converged. The scene unfolds like a living tapestry, vivid and fragrant, with ships bearing colorful sails dotting the horizon as they navigated the waterways that served as both commercial routes and cultural arteries. Majapahit flourished not through sheer force, but by skillfully weaving together a delicate blend of Hinduism, Buddhism, and animist traditions, creating a unique mosaic of spiritual and cultural identity. The empire's journey began during the tumultuous decline of the Singasari kingdom. A young prince named Raden Wijaya founded Majapahit in 1293. Born from hardship amidst Mongol threats and internal unrest, the empire took its name from the Maja fruit, a nod to the bitter origins of a future sweetened by widespread influence. Wijaya's rise was characterized by shrewd alliances and strategic intelligence, navigating betrayals and capitalizing on Java's natural trade routes. His efforts laid the groundwork for an empire that rose from regional power to a central figure in Southeast Asia, supported by its formidable seafaring capabilities and diplomatic skill. The 14th century marked the golden age of Majapahit under the leadership of the legendary Prime Minister Gajah Mada. His famous vow, the Sumpah Palapa, to unify the archipelago, became a guiding principle for his political and military strategy. Gajah Mada's vision transformed Majapahit into a regional superpower, achieving this not merely through conquest, but by masterfully integrating military strength with trade and cultural knowledge. Under his direction, culture thrived. Epic poetry like the Nagara Kertagama was composed, describing an idealized kingdom where spiritual and economic achievements were deeply connected. Majapahit's ports bustled with merchants from India, China, and beyond, making it a crucial hub for the empire's dominance in trade, particularly with its renowned exports of gold, textiles, and rice. This era presented a vibrant mix of rituals, commerce, and grand ceremonies. Majapahit's naval supremacy was legendary, its fleets embodying the empire's vitality and its defense. Commanding massive fleets of warships known as zhong, the empire's engineers refined their designs by combining indigenous methods with adopted innovations. This naval power was notably tested against the Mongol threat, where Majapahit forces skillfully maneuvered through the archipelago's complex waterways, turning the situation against larger forces. The fleet's dominance secured more than just defensive victories. It facilitated cultural exchanges and protected the empire's valuable trade routes. Life within the Majapahit courts was a complex interplay of luxury and ritual, intertwined with the empire's Hindu-Buddhist ethos. Politics, ceremony, and spirituality converged in grand events marking royal milestones, integrated with the court's daily administration. Scholars, poets, and emissaries populated these courts, their accounts blending imperial grandeur with everyday realities. Society presented a vivid contrast between sumptuous elite banquets and communal ceremonies that bound commoners together in shared reverence. Even as we examine Majapahit's practices, we find syncretic beliefs woven into every aspect of life. The emperor, viewed as a divine intermediary, ruled a world believed to be animated by spirits and myths. Rituals were steeped in mysticism, punctuating both governance and daily life. From protective amulets to palace sorcery, these practices reflected a universal human quest for order, revealing a distinct yet poignant parallel to the world we know today. The empire's far-reaching influence extended into the famed spice and silk routes, giving it control over major maritime channels connecting Asian civilizations. Trade was not just commerce, but a deeply ingrained way of life, where spices like cloves and nutmeg held both immense economic power and mystical allure. Valued for their ability to preserve food and their intoxicating aromas, the empire was more than a trade center. It was a crossroads of culture where merchants served as ambassadors, weaving diplomacy into commercial interactions. Busy ports reflected the strategic thinking as critical for geopolitics as they were for spreading the subtle influence of economic power that transcended culture and time. However, by the late 15th century, the empire faced its inevitable decline. Internal strife, fueled by political intrigue and disputes over succession, fractured its once unified rule. The rise of Islam signaled a cultural and political shift that challenged the prevailing Hindu-Buddhist traditions. Coupled with changing trade dynamics that favored emerging Islamic sultanates, Majapahit's maritime dominance eroded. Once formidable fleets were silenced. Palaces fell into disrepair, becoming silent monuments of a fading civilization overtaken by unavoidable change. Yet the cultural imprint of Majapahit endures. Its architecture and art remain etched into the landscape and memory, visible in the temples of Trolan and echoed in shadow puppet performances like Wayang Kulit. These remnants offer a connection to modern Indonesian identity, where ceremonial rites and traditional dances trace their origins back to the Majapahit era. Far from being forgotten footnotes, these are living testaments to a rich past. As jungles reclaim ruined grandeur, they serve as reminders of history's cyclical nature, leaving behind enduring narratives amidst silent stones. These echoes continue forward, whispering tales of resilience wrapped in the mystique of what once was. If this unusual glimpse into medieval life piqued your interest or perhaps your appetite for history, consider leaving a like. And if you crave more compelling accounts from history's less explored corners, subscribe to Medieval Grime. We deliver our history robust, seasoned, and with a bit of character. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time by the fire. In the wind-scoured deserts of northwestern China, a landscape of sand and secrets conceals the story of the Western Xia, a kingdom once vibrant, now largely unknown. Among histories overshadowed by grander narratives, the Tanguts, the people of this vanished realm, inscribe their story through the relentless passage of time. Situated along the Silk Road, this empire flourished for nearly 2 centuries, serving as a sanctuary for a unique writing system and steadfast Buddhist devotion, only to crumble under the unforgiving power of Genghis Khan's Mongol armies. Imagine an empire speaking its own language, constructing cities that stood resiliently against the harsh desert environment, and crafting a structure of governance and culture now buried beneath history's continuous accumulation of sand. The Tangut people, with origins rooted in the Tibetan Plateau, were the architects of an identity woven with threads of language and resistance. Their script, a symbol of defiance against cultural assimilation, became a cornerstone of their administrative and daily life. Devotedly Buddhist, they adorned the landscape with monasteries that spoke softly of spiritual reflection and enduring strength, embodying beliefs that grounded their lives amidst existential uncertainties. Art infused with Buddhist imagery reflected their aspirations and concerns, defining an identity as distinct as it was profound. Western Xia's geographical setting, positioned between the Ordos Desert and the rugged heights of the Tibetan Plateau, served as both a strategic stronghold and a center of life. Cities built of rammed earth stood like silent guardians, their construction reflecting a design focused on resilience and survival. The air carried the scent of incense from impressive monasteries, where statues conveyed stories through their unmoving gazes. In the arid landscape, irrigation systems defied nature's severity, supporting the growth of communities that experienced both prosperity and the constant threat of Mongol ambitions. The empire's vitality flowed along the Silk Road. Prosperity coursed through its veins as traders carrying silk, spices, and gems converged within its borders. This vital link bustled with exchange, transforming Western Xia into a hub where ideas mingled as freely as goods. Yet this wealth also marked them as a target, an invitation for the ever-hungry Mongol gaze to fixate on conquest. The Silk Road was a thoroughfare of destiny, bringing both opulence and the quiet whispers of impending siege. Within Western Xia's core, art and literature blossomed, forging a cultural tradition that was both refined and ultimately fleeting. Intricate murals and sculptures transcended mere decoration, serving instead as expressions of a worldview steeped in color and contemplation. Tangut literature aimed to protect their identity, notably by translating Buddhist texts into their own language, preserving wisdom deep within their cultural soul. This intellectual flourishing had a short-lived impact, as much of it was swept away by the storm of Mongol destruction, leaving behind only meager clues to the empire's grandeur. The Western Xia army, trained for speed and maneuverability, formed the empire's backbone, defending its borders against formidable adversaries. Battle-hardened cavalry units mirrored the feared Mongol horsemen, engaging in a complex dance of tactics and terrain. Early skirmishes saw Tangut forces, bolstered by their land's natural challenges, stubbornly resisting Mongol aggression. But the Mongols, known for their resilience and ingenious adaptability, soon molded warfare to suit their ruthless designs, employing siege tactics that wore down both fortifications and the will to resist. Western Xia's demise was a narrative of erasure, marked by the overwhelming might of the Mongols. In 1226, Genghis Khan's wrath spared little. Cities were reduced to ash, historical records were burned, and the Tangut script, once fundamental to their identity, faded from memory as if it had never existed. This near-total obliteration was less an act of conquest and more a deliberate maelstrom of historical erasure, a brutal strategy intended to ensure no phoenix would rise from these scorched ruins. This quietude and destruction underscores the fragile nature of empires, leaving Western Xia's existence as a faint echo among the chronicles of conquest. Yet time, the great curator, has gradually revealed fragments of this past era to modernize. Archaeologists have excavated the sands to uncover remnants of city walls and faded scripts, offering glimpses into Tangut achievements and resilience. These discoveries whisper of a culture that was both sophisticated and unique in its aims, providing a window into a world where silence had reigned for centuries. In our current reflection, Western Xia reappears not merely as a story woven into the vast tapestry of history, but as a reminder of the transient, intricate dance that defines human power and memory. Its story unfolds within the larger epic of Asia's medieval saga, urging us to reconsider overlooked narratives that have shaped our collective past. This account stands as an ode to the murmurs carried across the ages, a reminder that history's extensive scroll holds voices speaking from beyond the deep shadows of the grave. Across the breadth of time, Western Xia's story emerges as a whisper amidst roars, imploring us to value and learn from the legacies hidden within the margins of recorded history. It echoes a reflection of what it means to rise, to fall, and to persist beyond fleeting remembrance, leaving an enduring impression on the collective human memory. Nestled within the rugged terrain of modern-day Oaxaca, the Zapotec civilization thrived for over a millennium, crafting a history characterized by ingenuity and spiritual depth. Around 500 BCE, these pioneering peoples settled in the fertile valleys, consecrating the land as both a birthplace and a nexus. Among active volcanoes, the Zapotec cultivated maize, beans, and squash, transforming the Earth's bounty into sustained settlements that vibrated with life. Within Oaxaca's rich environment, natural resources seamlessly integrated with the Zapotec cultural structure. The fertile land, cultivated through terrace farming and irrigation, provided more than just sustenance. It shaped social dynamics, leading to the creation of thriving urban centers. The Zapotec navigated a world alive with spiritual significance, venerating mountains, rivers, and the sky as sacred domains of their gods and ancestors. The land was not merely scenery. It resonated in their myths, art, and rituals, reflecting a profound connection between the earth and their identity. Amidst this vibrant setting, Monte Alban rose majestically atop a leveled ridge, serving as both the political and cultural heart of Zapotec society. Founded around the same period as the civilization itself, this city was not just built, it was conceived. Its magnificent plazas, splendid ceremonial platforms, and towering pyramids projected power across the valleys. More than just stone and mortar, Monte Alban was a living metropolis where skilled artisans crafted exquisite objects, astronomers charted the mysteries of the heavens, and priests performed rituals that mirrored the social and spiritual hierarchies. Monte Alban exerted influence across other Mesoamerican cultures, its extensive trade routes and intellectual exchanges, drawing connections from distant lands. Craftsmanship flourished, knowledge expanded, and ceremonial wonders echoed, binding the practical aspects of life with the mystical in a cosmic embrace. Yet what truly inscribed Zapotec achievements into history's record were their glyphs. These early forms of writing, inscribed on monuments and pottery, revealed accounts of royal lineages, calendrical cycles, and spiritual conversations. Though enigmatic to modern scholars, these glyphs convey a rich linguistic legacy, their meaning interwoven with both earthly and celestial cycles. Central to Zapotec existence was a rich tapestry of religion and ritual, seamlessly blending mythology, astronomy, and divine reverence. Their pantheon, comprising deities representing natural forces, agriculture, and fertility, was appeased through ceremonies performed atop Monte Alban's sacred pyramids. Here, priests conducted rites invoking the heavens to interact with the earthly realm in synchronicity. A rhythm echoed in the city's life. Beyond their spiritual resonance, these rituals reinforced social harmony, marking significant community events within the city. These spectacles, a vibrant blend of celebration, incorporated music, dance, and processions into cohesive expressions of faith and identity. Yet alongside these grand rituals, more private devotions occurred at humble shrines, their presence signaling a pervasive spirituality that anchored both public and private life. In these roles, simultaneously tangible and ethereal, rituals blurred the lines between the sacred and the mundane, threading through everyday life and belief. Warfare played another significant part in Zapotec society, essential in shaping both their internal structure and external relations. Monte Alban proudly displayed formidable defenses. Warfare played another significant part in Zapotec society, essential in shaping both their internal structure and external relations. Monte Alban proudly displayed formidable defenses. However, the Zapotec were no strangers to conflict. Battles were fought for defense, to control trade, and to expand their influence. Valiant victories brought prestige, resources, and captives, some of whom were destined for spiritual offerings. Yet as fierce as they could be militarily, the Zapotec also excelled in diplomacy. They navigated intricate alliances with neighboring Mixtecs and Maya, forging connections through marriage and cultural exchange, allowing their influence to extend gracefully. Such a skill underpinning this structure of power was a society organized around clear hierarchies. City residents were centered in Monte Alban, while agriculturalists cultivated the surrounding fields. Elites, priests, warriors, and nobles managed the spiritual and material welfare from opulent stone residences, their power resting on complex social dynamics and religious devotion. The commoners, residing in their adobe dwellings, lived according to the rhythms of the earth and sky, ensuring the vitality of Zapotec survival and prosperity through lives of labor and craftsmanship. Their daily routines mirrored the cycle of the soil and the seasons. Markets pulsed with the sounds of trade, diets focused on maize and were seasoned with community spirit. Society moved in step with religious milestones and celestial events, strengthening the unseen bonds of community beneath the silent testimony of the stars. Craftsmanship and innovation were integral to Zapotec identity, translating cultural expressions into striking art and architecture. From the elaborate facades of Monte Alban to intricate pottery and captivating textiles, each creation stood as a testament to their worldview, stories preserved in tangible forms. The Zapotec spirit, evident in their ingenuity, shaped not only structures but the land itself, adapting through advanced agricultural techniques and environmental management, allowing them to thrive despite challenges. Yet empires remain only as long as time allows, and with time, the Zapotec eventually declined. Their decline was not a sudden collapse but a gradual fading, a combination of internal disharmony and external pressures. As the Mixtec prominence grew, their influence blended into a broader cultural synthesis, leaving behind not desolation, but an enduring cultural resonance. Long after Mixtec voices fell silent, Monte Alban's secrets were slowly revealed by dedicated archaeologists. Each excavated artifact, each discovered glyph, breathed life into the echoing silence, uncovering layers of Zapotec complexity and ingenuity. Each whisper from the archaeologist's findings unveils layers obscured by history's veil, reminding us of the rich complexity that exists beyond the more familiar narratives of the Aztecs and Maya. Today, Oaxaca resonates with the legacy of its ancestors, where living Zapotec communities safeguard their cultural treasures, engaging in an ancient dialogue with time. In the story of their rise and gradual decline, the Zapotec left not just ruins but a reminder of human resilience. Echoes of their voices, etched in glyphs, impart lessons across time, a testament to tenacity that resists silent erasure, embracing complex histories and shared human truths. In the warm, humid heart of maritime Southeast Asia, an empire once flourished that was both dynamic and elusive, Shrivijaya. This formidable trading power, centered on the island of Sumatra in present-day Indonesia, controlled the crucial Strait of Malacca through astute diplomacy and impressive naval strength. From the 7th to the 13th century, Shrivijaya was a diverse society. Its bustling ports were alive with the sounds of commerce, voices blending in numerous languages. Chinese, Indian, and Arab traders mingled amidst the scent of spices and the humid jungle air. Yet the grand story of Shrivijaya often remains less known in popular history, overshadowed by empires built on conquest and military might. As a conduit for cultural and economic exchange, Shrivijaya hosted Buddhist monks traveling from the south, carrying the teachings of their faith, while Arab and Indian merchants filled the air with tales of distant lands and the promise of profit. Srivijaya's influence was as profound as it was understated, its power flowing not through weapons, but through trade networks and the currents of ideas. At its peak, Srivijaya prospered from the wealth of the seas. The empire harnessed the monsoon winds that filled sails and propelled fleets across vast ocean expanses, asserting its command over the sea lanes. By controlling this critical maritime artery, this empire did more than just accumulate wealth. It shaped the narrative of cultural exchange across the region, welcoming a confluence of ideas to flow through its harbors. This non-military dominance highlighted a unique approach to empire building, one based not on land, but on the waves, its tendrils of influence extending across the Indo-Malay archipelago. Palembang, the vibrant nerve center of Srivijaya, teemed with life and commerce. Picture markets bustling with activity, traders hawking ivory and silk amidst the murmur of human voices and the clamor of crowded stalls. Here, a cultural mosaic unfolded, a testament to the cosmopolitan character of an empire that embraced diversity and fostered dialogue. Languages intertwined, new philosophies took root, and religious exchanges flourished. A vivid tapestry woven from the threads of many cultures and beliefs. The spiritual pulse of this world resonated from Buddhist stupas and monasteries where scholars and monks gathered. their saffron robes a striking contrast against the lush green surroundings. Faith and devotion bound them to a common purpose. Shrivijayan monarchs, fervent patrons of Buddhism, transformed their realm into a sanctuary of learning. Here, Buddhism found fertile ground to adapt and thrive, its doctrines blossoming into local interpretations as novel as the tropical flora. The spiritual and cultural exchanges facilitated by Shrivijayan monks reached beyond their own shores, notably influencing the journey of I Ching, an eminent Buddhist scholar whose studies in Shrivijaya enriched his thought and later contributed significantly to Tibetan Buddhism. Yet, like any center of human endeavor, Shrivijaya also faced the inevitable tide of decline. By the 13th century, this empire, known for its maritime prowess, began to wane. Its dominance eroded by shifting trade routes, internal disagreements, and the rise of competing powers like the Javanese Majapahit. The once bustling straits where ships cut swift paths through the blue waters began to fall silent, mere shadows of the thriving arteries they once were. The gradual spread of Islam across the region led to a transformation in the religious landscape, further weakening Srivijaya's grip on influence until it slowly receded into the quiet hum of history. A gradual, dignified departure rather than a sudden, catastrophic fall. The veil over Shrivijaya was not lifted until the early 20th century, when scholars like George Codis undertook the painstaking effort of reconstructing its history, deciphering faded inscriptions, and exploring forgotten sites. Their discoveries were vital in bringing the neglected outline of Shrivijaya back to life. Through dense jungles and beneath layers of soil, remnants whispered stories of the empire's grand narrative. Elegantly carved stone artifacts, worn smooth by time, each served as a clue to the complex tapestry of life and power that once existed. Today, Srivijaya's influence is subtly interwoven into the cultural fabric of Southeast Asia. Its legacy endures in the rich traditions of trade, maritime governance, and the lasting cultural synthesis visible within the modern nation-states of the region. While the artifacts of stone and metal may catch the eye, its deep spiritual and cultural impact shines even brighter, resonating in the shared histories of its descendants. The Shrivijayan story serves as a compelling reminder of a world once connected by trade winds and spiritual pursuits, a narrative that speaks of resilience and cultural enlightenment against the tides of history. As we reflect on Srivijaya and its kind, we encounter the impermanence of power, whether wielded on land or sea. Empires rise and subside, but their stories endure, echoing from within forgotten ruins and carried into the present through dedicated exploration and discovery. Srivijaya's rediscovery enriches the historical tapestry, speaking to the resilience of the human spirit, its perpetual quest for knowledge, and the value found in nurturing a legacy of cultural strength over mere territorial control. In the aftermath of mighty empires, an eerie silence often descends, a silence that, in its own subtle way, transforms or obliterates the remnants of power. This silence is more than just an absence of sound. It is a tapestry woven from forgotten stories, echoes of lost languages, and artifacts slowly decaying under history's relentless weight. It reminds us that power, no matter how vast, is transient, ultimately yielding to the quiet force of time. This silence frequently results not from dramatic collapses, but from the more mundane realities of bureaucracy and decay. Consider the Western Roman Empire, whose downfall stemmed not solely from barbarian invasions, but also from logistical failures and economic strain. The silence that followed was heavy with lessons from a world that significantly shaped the future, yet eventually faded from living memory. Here we explore how empires often succumb more to the routine challenges of administration and neglect than to spectacular ends. Empires can sometimes collapse under the sheer complexity of their own bureaucratic structures. Governance becomes so convoluted that it stifles itself. The Byzantine Empire, for instance, possessed a robust bureaucratic system that, while effective during stable periods, became an unmanageable mess during crises. Complex tax codes and overgrown administrative networks hindered decision-making, leading to stagnation. A similar fate befell the Tang dynasty in China, where bureaucracy became rigid and self-serving in the face of rebellion. The paradox is striking. The intricate systems intended to maintain order can precipitate ruin when conditions change, While history often emphasizes dramatic conclusions, many empires decline slowly through simple neglect. The Roman Empire again offers a classic illustration. As political attention shifted, frontiers became difficult to govern, and once vibrant cities gradually turned into silent shells. Roads that had supported legions and traders disintegrated, and aqueducts ceased to flow. Large empires struggled to maintain cohesion over vast territories. The lack of consistent oversight fosters this silent unraveling, often unnoticed until it is too late. Yet while some regions adapted to independence, others simply vanished. Thus, the silence of decline does not signify emptiness. It represents the quiet presence of life adapting, thriving, or disappearing beyond the world's immediate awareness. Beyond natural decay, some empires faced deliberate cultural erasure. The Mongols, when they devastated the Western Xia, aimed not just for conquest but for annihilation, intent on wiping out Tangut culture. Their actions underscore the fragility of cultural memory, which can be easily erased when power is used to enforce silence. However, the destruction is not always absolute. Echoes persist in folklore, ruins, or artifacts uncovered by archaeologists. Consider the Khmer Empire, whose majestic temples like Angkor Wat still inspire awe. While physical remnants endure, much of their cultural depth was lost, reshaped by subsequent rulers. It is an empire partly remembered, enveloped in mystery, its stories fragmented across time. Languages frequently perish with the empires that created them, silencing vast stores of knowledge and culture. The Sogdian language, crucial for trade, faded with its empire. Yet its traces linger in place, names, and surviving writings. Not all languages vanish quietly, however. Some, like Latin, persisted long after their empires, evolving into the languages of law, science, and religion. These dominant tongues live on in the vocabulary and grammar of successor languages, indicating that the death of one language can mean transformation rather than outright disappearance, a silent evolution into new forms and expressions. Amidst fading words, stone bears witness. Monuments and ruins stand as silent testimony to past glories, defying destruction. Structures like the Pillars of Persepolis or Axum's Stele whisper tales of grandeur and oblivion, reminding us of the transient nature of power. These monuments stimulate the imagination, allowing us to envision life in cities that have now fallen. Tumbled stones and solitary columns tell narratives not just of how an empire fell, but how it flourished. Ruins, perhaps unwillingly collaborating with time, ensure some stories never completely vanish, remaining eternally fascinating, inviting us to contemplate history's impermanence. As empires decline, superstitions often flourish, acting as guardians of cultures on the brink of silence. These beliefs, far from being mere relics, are powerful forces. Viking settlements in Greenland are wrapped in myths of curses long after their abandonment. Such superstitions, embedded within folklore, serve as cultural repositories, a means by which societies remember and process decline. As they intertwine with new beliefs, they preserve fragments of ancient worlds. Protected by superstitions, the past finds steadfast guardians in the narratives passed down, reaching audiences open to such tales and others simply curious about their foundations. When silence descends, the remnants of fallen empires often give rise to unexpected legacies. The fall of the Umayyad Caliphate led to the rise of the Abbasids, who expanded cultural and scientific achievements, sparking a vibrant renaissance. Similarly, territories once part of former empires crafted new identities. The legacy of the Majapahit Empire, for instance, still resonates, its influence perceptible in modern Indonesian art, a clear demonstration of resilience. This capacity for adaptation underscores how the silence that follows an empire's fall does not signify oblivion but transformation, an echo carried through continuous culture, whether actively preserved or simply surviving. In the present day, the lessons embedded in these periods of historical silence hold significance. Modern societies, with their global aspirations, might do well to heed the failures of the past. Empires did not always collapse at convenient, easily predictable moments. Power dynamics shifted in ways often visible only in hindsight. As contemporary cultures navigate globalization, the memory of ancient empires offers valuable insights into maintaining diversity. The Khazar Empire, in choosing a religious path distinct from its neighbors, challenges conventional notions of conformity, reminding us that diversity itself can be a source of strength for empires. Ultimately, the silence that descends after an empire's fall becomes both a reflection and a cautionary tale, emphasizing how echoes, not just their absence, transmit wisdom across time. Within this silence that follows the decline of power, countless untold stories await rediscovery, narratives that do more than just record the cessation of authority or the dispersal of people. They stand as powerful testaments to the inherent impermanence of life and power itself. Amidst the silence lies resilience, the whispers emanating from ruins, the echoes of vanished languages, the strong grip of culture on modern society. These muted voices from the past permeate contemporary life, prompting us to reconsider how we perceive history. Through the study of these forgotten empires, a man learns that military might and economic prosperity alone cannot indefinitely hold back the relentless march of time.